Hey everybody, it's the Film Exorcist and Demented Ghost, or Demented Ghost, on tonight's episode of Paranormal Club, where you guys know the motto, there is no limit to terror or entertainment. Tonight, we will be doing Insidious, Chapter 1, hold up, 2010 movie, and Cameron will be giving you the usual synopsis and index.
We've got a lot of great stuff in store for you tonight, folks. I will be doing the synopsis. We will then be going into the production facts. I will be presenting a gore score, a little bit shorter than our usual gore scores, but there will be one nonetheless. We will have some further facts and a conversation of sorts about the film before we go into a rating. I'll tell you a little bit about the film Insidious. We follow the Lambert family, Josh and Renee. They have two sons, Dalton and Foster, and they have a baby daughter, and they've just moved into this new home, and essentially Dalton goes into a coma, and the doctors can't explain it. And eventually, Josh and Renee find out that there is not a medical or scientific reason, but a paranormal one. And that Josh's mother brings in a demonologist. Another demonologist. Well, actually, this is before the Conjuring film, so some could say Insidious maybe inspired James Wan to do the Conjuring later on. But anyways, Elise and her two her two specialists, assistants, Specs and Tucker, come in and help the Lambert family to explore the further, which is an alternate dimension, and try to retrieve Dalton from this paranormal place. I forgot to mention that this place, the further, has a lot of demonic spirits, if you will, and they come out during the events of this film to basically haunt the family, the house, and it's got a lot of really great themes. There's the haunted house aspect. There's this sense of the demonic. It's a great story about family, but we'll discuss spoilers later on in our discussion. But essentially, it is the Lambert family calling upon Elise and her demonologist associates to get Dalton back, his spirit, if you will, back from this place called the Further.
Right. And ladies and gentlemen, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, this is a spoiler alert happening right now. We're starting out with director James Wan, produced by Jason Blum, Steven Schneider, and Oren Peely. It was written by Leigh Whannel, music by Joseph Bishara, also known for the Conjuring movies. Cinematography by John R. Lanetti and David M. Brewer. We have 4350 Victoria Park Drive, Los Angeles, California, which is the Lambert House. And then we have 1153 South Point View Street, Los Angeles, California, aka the New House. Then we have 1111 South Broadway, Los Angeles, California, also known as the Further. I hate my tongue. We have Patrick Wilson on this movie as Josh Lambert. We also remember him as Ed Warren in the Conjuring films. We have Josh Feldman as young Josh. We have Rose Burney, Lynn Shay as Elias Rainier, Ty Simpkins as Dalton Lambert, Barbara Hershey as Lauren Lambert. Leigh Whannel comes in as Steven, also known as Specs. Angus Lampson as Tucker. Andrew Ashton as Foster Lambert. Heather Takigney as Nurse Kelly. Corbett Tuck as Nurse Adele. Ruben Pla as Dr. Sakars. John Henry Binder as Father Martin. Christopher Mars Bessina as Ghost. And Marfrin Kubar as Tree. And on to the gore score.
Yes, I did mention that there is a shorter score than usual. This was a PG-13 film. Doesn't mean it wasn't scary, but there's just a lot less to report on here. There are 10 entities, ghosts, if you will, demonic spirits. There is one possession, and we have one death by strangling.
Is that it?
I mean, I guess I could also add 2 gigantic flashlights, but I figure, let's just stick with the scary stuff.
Well, small flashlight, then large flashlight, then gigantic flashlight.
That's when you knew that they're having a bit of fun with the film. But speaking of James Wan and Leigh Whannel, that both were a part of this film, they also worked together on the original Saw film. Leigh Whannel not only co-wrote Saw with James Wan, but also co-starred in the film. They were kind of at the time, they were kind of a bundled package. Anytime James Wan worked on a film, he worked on it with Leigh Whannel. So I think they work really well together. As we'll go into this film when we give some more of our deeper thoughts on it, I just think James Wan and Leigh Whannel, that they really are a great team. They really know how to make great stories.
I guess you could say almost like us.
Oh. I wonder which one of them is the demented ghost.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Lynette. Well, now, on to scariest scene. For me, it would have to be the reveal of the lipstick-faced demon and its lair, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people would agree with me. I mean, all you hear is tiptoe through the tulips as you're watching the lipstick-faced demon sharpen its claws, and then it appears out of nowhere as soon as Dalton is freed from the chains. It's just...
Yeah, and what's great about it is that they use the demon sparingly, and so every time he showed up, it was just very chilling. Like when Lorraine Lambert's trying to, I believe she was talking about it, she sees like half of its face earlier on, and that was just such a spooky moment. There's another part, I think, when Elise is walking through the Lambert home, and all you see is the shadows in Dalton's room, and you just hear that bone creaking sound, so it's that demon, and it's just, we were talking about this film a little bit earlier. You said that this, one of the great things about this film is like the tension that it builds, and I gotta agree with you. They really know how to set up the intense moments.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, for most of this film, I'm just waiting for the ghosts, and it's just dropping my heart so much. And then when they finally come on, I'm so glad they made us wait. It's just tick, 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 boom! Out of nowhere. Basically, I guess you could say the suspension bomb.
Yeah. Oh, way to describe the film as a whole is it's just one giant suspension bomb. So for me, I don't know if I have one particular scene that I thought was the scariest. In addition to what I call the Darth Maul demon, or the lipstick demon, I thought the long-haired guy was freaky as well. When you see him just like walking outside and stuff, and then the next minute he's in the room, that's terrifying. And maybe it's not the scariest scene in the movie, but when you're dealing with your family and you want to protect your family, like the thought of something like that happening, it's horrifying that the sanctity of your home is being invaded upon. I think that it also reminds me of the scene where, they're hearing the pounding at the door, and then the door is just open and the alarm is going off. And so there's just this feeling of like vulnerability and like they've been taken advantage of, like, like there's no sanctity to their home anymore. It's being beset upon by these entities. So, yeah.
Right.
There's a lot of tense moments in this movie for me.
So true. On to the facts. We have a budget of $1.5 million, a pretty low budget. A box office of $97 million.
Wow.
Yeah. It was the first theatrical release for film districts. It was honestly, it made Tiptoe Through the Tulips a very terrifying song. I cannot go through with for those who don't know, I have a best music from horror movies, and this is somewhere on that list. If you guys haven't seen it, please go check it out in the Slasher Club's playlists. But seriously, I didn't expect something like this to be so terrifying. I mean, it's like The Crooked Man.
Absolutely. And while you're on the music, I just also want to mention the score. Like, from the very beginning of the film, throughout the film, that screeching violin sound, it's like very unnerving. It puts you on the edge of your seat. So throughout the film, you have that. I can't imitate, but you know what I'm saying. It's like throughout the film, and it keeps you on your guard, and it definitely helped to elevate the film's fear factor.
I completely understand. I was gonna talk about the suspense more, but I'm pretty sure we already talked about that a little much. And the only thing, honestly, I liked most, I even loved the to be continued ending where, again, we already mentioned this is a spoiler video. Out of nowhere, we finally see in the camera that Josh has been taken over by the demon or the ghost that has been haunting him for years as a child. It's just, and all you see in the camera is the ghost. Just a great callback to a great sequence in this movie, and the title card, I cannot forget to mention the title card. Every time it comes up with the violin you were talking about, it's just, it gave me chills, like, bang, absolutely. Insidious.
It's very effectively used. Like, it's at the beginning of the film, and then at the end it pops up, and it fills the entire screen. Insidious, and really, it's a really remarkable film. I forgot if I mentioned in our review yet, but for me personally, after watching this movie again, after kind of forgetting about it a little bit, because we we were just doing the Conjuring universe and things like that. I forgot how much I love this movie. I almost want to say this is my favorite James Wan film. You know, it's really remarkable because, you know, in our group, Killer Flicks, there's, you know, the debate topics usually revolve. And one of the debate topics that usually comes up every couple of weeks or so is, are PG-13 movies scary? How can you have a horror movie that's PG-13? Well, Insidious is a great example of being PG-13, really not showing any gore of any kind, and still being legitimately scary and frightening.
Right. And actually, to be clear, you can't really say it's your favorite James Wan movie when you haven't even seen The Nun yet.
Well, but I mean, James Wan didn't direct The Nun. He produced it. So, I mean, as a director. And I will say that I am looking forward to Aquaman. I'm a big DC Comics fan, so who knows? That could be his best movie yet. But
oh yeah, I forgot he was doing that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I could do a whole video about that. But they released a 5-minute trailer for Aquaman. I don't know if you've seen that or not. But
I have.
I definitely. Oh yeah, you saw that?
Yeah, especially that whole scene with, well, you're the nearest source of water, so magically take sweat off his head.
Yeah, that character has the ability to manipulate water, but how I can tie this back into our review is there is a shot in the Aquaman trailer that's called a long shot. It's where the camera stays on a subject in the film for an extended period of time. And in the trailer, it's following one of the Atlantean guards or whatever as he's running through this building, busting through walls. And somebody posted a series of shots from various of James Wan's films, but apparently that's one of his hallmarks is he makes long shots. Now I can't recall off the top of my head. I should have taken notes on this. I can't recall long shots from Insidious, but you know there was one in The Conjuring, and I believe the Fast and Furious film. But yeah, he's a very talented filmmaker, and I'm surprised at how much he's accomplished as a filmmaker. And he's only been in the business for maybe 10 years or so, which, in terms of people like Spielberg or Scorsese, that's a really short amount of time. But he's slowly becoming one of the great filmmakers of our time.
Right, and that's why. Again, you guys know this is a huge callback to many of our previous videos. I have mentioned that I am in school for filmmaking. Honestly, James Wan is a huge inspiration to me next to John Carpenter and Sean Cunningham. But James Wan just knows how to do each genre. I mean, this movie series came after Saw, and right after Saw, he just felt, okay, I was able to do a series where it focuses more on the gory phase of horror and terror, and here he decided, let's see what I can do with suspense and a lot less gore, and he nailed it. And this was even before The Conjuring was even thought of, and just...
After seeing Insidious and then going on to seeing Conjuring 1 and 2, you can see how
he improved.
Really prepared him for those bigger films.
I mean, honestly, it's a huge improvement. I mean, we get the small scenes and just the development of what he came up with in college in Saw, and here we just see him moving on to a bigger movie than Saw and just focusing on a whole lot more. I mean, you have to admit, one of the scariest scenes is the running through the hole further, which I was kind of afraid neither one of them was going to make it out. It makes you think. I mean, even though you know, yeah, they're the main characters, they technically have to make it out alive for there to be more movies. It's just, it gets you thinking.
And for a movie that's PG-13, there were a lot of stakes, you know, like a lot of people think, or I've heard people say that, oh, a movie needs to be rated R because that way it can really give you like a gut punch. Like it can really, you know, it has higher stakes. Somebody could die. Somebody could, you know, lose their limbs. Yeah, the stakes are higher. But you know what? For a PG-13 film, the stakes are really high. I mean, you have this family that they have a son that's in a coma. They have no idea. You know, they're helpless. For much of the film, they're like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. And the thought of, like, you know, losing a child at such a young age is horrifying to any parent. And then on top of that, the film ends with the father being possessed. So, in a way, the bad guys win in the first film, so to speak, because yes, they get they get Dalton back, but they lose the dad, the patriarch for the family.
Yeah, and actually, there's one huge part that I love in this movie, the huge connection between the father and son. I guess you could say the apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Yeah.
Because both Dalton and his father have that spiritual astral plane out of body experience, and then you know they're both they've both been haunted as children, and it's just, you want to see what someone like Dalton is going to turn out to be like in the future compared to his father, who completely forgot everything, and he moved up to become a school teacher and a somewhat decent father.
Hey, you know, that's one way for them to, you know, reboot the franchise or do another sequel is, you know, in a few years from now, we follow a young adult Dalton where, you know, maybe he has just, you know, gotten married or he's engaged and maybe he has forgotten or, you know what I mean, like that. So that's a great way to change the story back to him because, you know, you could have this kind of ongoing thing where it's like it's passed down, you know, from father to son. So
right, and actually, well, there is supposed to be a fifth movie coming, maybe, possibly 2020.
Well, my hope is that was this your first time seeing Insidious?
I think I've seen it before, but yeah, it's my first time seeing it, well, remembering seeing it.
Well, without giving anything away, the next movie is a...
I mean, I've seen... The first one I've ever seen out of this series was actually the second movie in theaters.
Okay. What I'm getting at essentially is part 3 and part 4 are prequels. I'm really hoping that we'll get back to making an actual sequel because I think that's where a lot of there's more opportunities for like growth within the story by doing a sequel. I'll get more into it in our reviews for part 3 and 4. I like every entry in the franchise, to be quite honest, but I just see I see the future as a better direction than the past for these films. But
right.
I honestly, like I said, this is probably, you know, my favorite James Wan film thus far. I would say I like it more than Saw. I would say that I appreciate it a little bit more than the Conjuring films. And I'm not saying that the Conjuring films aren't masterpieces of their own right. I'm just saying I personally like Insidious more. I appreciate it more because this is still when James Wan is a younger director, still kind of finding his style. And there's so much flavor to the film. But I would probably give this film pretty close to a 10, maybe a 9.5. Where would you put Insidious in your ranking of films?
I kind of gotta agree. I mean, I do feel the second movie is a lot scarier, but we'll get to that later on. But yeah, after seeing this for the most memorable, I guess, first time, it was really good. So yeah, we're leaving it at a 9.5. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, click that little notification bell, and ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on our first trip to the further with the Lambert clan, and we will make sure to see you guys on Wednesday next week, if not Friday or Thursday. Good night, goodbye, and remember, this movie has been saved and loved by the film Exorcist, and it is heavily recommended by both me and the Demented Ghost. Please go watch it. Good night, goodbye, and have a terrifying evening.